Hi everyone. Today I'm joined by Nikos Kourentzes, professor within predictive analytics and AI from Skövde University, and also the co-author of the article summarizing the state of the art within hierarchical forecasting. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for being here. So I often get the questions upon at what level that you should do the forecasting at. And I guess that is what hierarchical forecasting is solving, isn't it?
That's right, yes. So traditionally you would think the problem as, let's say we forecast at the disaggregate level, dominated by the demand planners, the forecasting, or it might be at a more aggregate level, let's say by senior management or the sales team. However, if you take it in these different approaches, you would always lose some information. And you would somehow, let's say, impose one opinion to the rest.
Yeah.
Because the question is that you want all these different functions to operate on the same or similar looking forecasts. So if, for instance, we would say, okay, we do a bottom level forecast, so stock keeping units go upwards, or you have, let's say, top level forecast, and you have some, let's say, at a very aggregate level and disaggregate your forecast, or, in between, middle out, you have the question, okay, what is the optimal one? What is the right decision? That is no longer how we see the problem. Now we see the problem that we want to produce forecasts at all levels, because all of these levels contain useful information. And instead of thinking, okay, I pick up this level or that level, I actually want to combine all these forecasts. And therefore, from this combination, I would have one single, let's say, agreement, as we call it, coherent forecast. And we now want to work on that one. And this comes with a lot of advantages. From the more intuitive point of view, all these forecasts will contain different information. Let's say disaggregate may have pricing and promotional planning. Aggregate may have some tactical or strategic decisions, or incorporate, let's say, information from the economy, like inflation and so on.
Yeah.
Recent discussion topic.
Yeah.
But there is also a lot of statistical sides that give us a benefit. The combination of the forecast reduces the risk. Suppose you're doing a top-down forecast, so you would have a single model doing the top forecast, and then you would disaggregate. You're taking the risk that this forecast may be good or bad. You don't know that easily. Forecast will never be 100% accurate. So even if you have small errors in the beginning, if the model actually is not well calibrated, it will start having at some point very large errors. So you're taking that modeling risk. If you have multiple models, by combining them, effectively you're saying, okay, some of them will be good, some of them will be not so good, but that's fine. The combined is safer. And there is a lot of work in forecast combination in the literature that says that when you do this forecast combination, effectively you will end up having better forecasts, more accurate forecasts.
Nice. And I guess that solves a lot of problems then. Going back to the organizational perspective and the requirements, that if you can do this on all of the levels and reconcile it, it would be a unified organization when it comes to forecasting.
That's right, yes. It's a matter that you want to have these numbers ideally agreeing with each other, coherent as we call it in the literature, because effectively imagine that you would have, let's say, at the disaggregate level forecast pointing to one direction, and at the other aggregate you would have forecast pointing to the different direction. So as you start planning on these forecasts, you will have eventually this disagreement, this misalignment in decision making. So you want to avoid all that. That's the whole idea. But there are a lot of other technical reasons as well that make this a beneficial solution. Without having to go the details of the modeling, if we're combining forecasts from different levels, what we're doing there is effectively the forecast combination approach, which we know from the literature is very beneficial. It's very beneficial because it reduces the modeling risk. Put it simply, if let's say we say we're going to produce forecast at the top level and then disaggregate, your forecasting model there may be great or not. You won't know until it starts exploding.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you may be better off to, instead of taking the risk of a single model or a few models at the bottom level, model everywhere and then combine these models. Some models will be great, some models will be not so good. The combined forecast will be safer. And at least statistically speaking, probably more accurate as well. There are other aspects, for instance, data may be sparse at the disaggregate level. You may have periods of zero demand, and usually they will be more noisy. So as someone who works in forecasting models, this is a difficult problem. If you give me a very nice shape with clean patterns, that's an easy problem, which usually you find at the top level. So all this research started about 15 years ago from a team in Monash University in Australia. And since then, there has been a lot of progress from other teams, including myself. And it has been a lot motivated from both sides, statistical side and the organizational side.
Amazing. I mean, just to unify the organization, I mean, that's what I hear the most that they're struggling with, that the ones doing the lower levels, they have one idea about how to do this forecasting. And then the managers who wants better forecasting on the top levels and want this to be aligned with what is driving our sales and what is driving our market.
Right. So one aspect, for instance, that we've discussed with some colleagues is that if, for instance, you would have the managers doing the forecasting, I mean, okay, someone else is doing the forecast, but let's say we put the attention in that level of planning, you will bias all the information, all the thinking from that level. But these people are far away from the market. The people who are close to the market are the people who are doing the demand forecasts, the demand planning. So this information is lost. Similarly, if you would have the demand planner doing all the work, then that person will not have the information of the tactical or strategic decisions that management is doing. So it's not just, oh, you don't have a perfect forecast, that's why you're misaligned. You're missing all this information that is internal to the company. So you could see it in a bit different way. You can sort of break information silos without having to do the organizational work. Let them all do their job, and then you combine the forecasts. And there is coming where my research also is a bit more focused in the idea that suppose you would have a forecast, let's say, I will pick, as always, my favorite top product, which is ice cream. Ice cream of a particular flavor. At the bottom level, that's a useful forecast because you want to have this for your inventory planning. At a more aggregate level, you care about, let's say, ice cream in total, let's say for your production planning, getting your raw materials. The aspect that there is different as well is the planning horizon. You don't need the total raw material forecast for, let's say, 1 day ahead. You need it for much longer. You have different lead times and the production planning is running at a different level. So you have both these different items and different time horizons together. And if you think it like that, then you really get a unified forecast. Like top management cares about, let's say, the financial planning in quarters, in half years. Whereas people who have to do the supply side care about the very detailed forecast at next day, next week, depending on, of course, the different demarcations you're using. So by using this hierarchical thinking, either the cross-sectional or temporal, if we want to put it in the terminology, you essentially have all of these different functions communicating with each other and exchanging information, which is really the benefit you get organizationally.
Really, I'm starstruck. This is going to help so many organizations in improving their forecasting. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Looking forward to having more of these discussions. Thank you.
Thank you.